Hi and welcome to Live Talk 2020. This is the seminar Living Through the Pandemic. It's sorry, I have to turn this off. We have a panel here that will discuss what happens during this strange year, and I would like you to introduce yourselves and thank you for being here. And I will disappear from the screen and give it all to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Åke.
Thank you. So we are MTA Production. My name is Hilda, and my name is Julia.
And I am Malin.
Malin Kairis, Julia Boman. We will guide you through this seminar, Living Through the Pandemic. Yeah, I would like to say welcome, warmest welcome to the seminar by MTA Production. We will answer all your questions in the chat, so please feel welcome to write your questions there during our seminar. The chat is at Facebook on the web, the Facebook page Live at Heart. So I am Hilda Sandgren, the founder of MTA Production. MTA has, during the past 20 years, been in constant motion, working tirelessly with the many sides of the music industry. And for me personally, I have always tried to expecting that good work will be rewarded and paid off, sooner or later. And I believe that if I am expecting and celebrating good things and believe that good things can happen, they will. And from this time, I have learned that, and with that attitude, MTA and me, we can better cope with the worst case scenario. And if I think and act from the original plan, and that was having a good success and a big success instead, it was easier to cope with this year. This is the invisible wheel of expectation that helps me calm down and clear my thoughts. So this is us. This picture is taken at Womex Trade Fair and Conference in Tampere, Finland in October 2019. We were celebrating that we closed deals with a lot of presenters, organizers from Canada and the States, as well as Finland and Italy. And also that we did a big revenue, reached over 20 million Swedish crowns. So this was an all-time high for us. And yeah, things were looking very bright. Next. So let's start from the beginning. MTA was founded in 2000 by Hilda Sandgren. It started out as a DIY one-woman company with the mission to bring quality and equality into the music business. During the first 10 years, women were a bit underrepresented in the business as well as in the artistic fields. But that was about to change. In 2008, Malin Kairis started working at MTA as a sales manager and booking agent. And that was a very good decision made by me. Because before Malin came, I found myself being very lonely and feeling very lonely. And when I look in the rear view mirror, I think that a network and a mentor or a mentorship with someone guiding me, helping me realize my potential and supporting my ideas would have had a great impact on me. And that would have helped me a lot as well. But no. I was too proud to ask for help and I did not even think about it. That was stupid, I think. having the experience of being entrepreneur for such a long time. Okay, so in 2009, with Malin's help, big things happened. We hit the market with a very successful Christmas show, the Christmas production Jul i Folkton. That show was filmed and aired on Swedish television, and we sold many, many tickets. As you can see on this picture, Lena Willemark, Ale Möller, Esbjörn Hazelius, Lisa Rydberg, Olle Linder, Roger Tallroth participated in this show, and we made also big records, big selling results with the live records, Jul i Folkton live and Solvändets tid live. In 2012, that was a very good year for us. We grew as a company. We participated and joined Swedish Live, which is a big conference in Sweden. We expanded our markets a lot. We had 3 artists participating in the Swedish Melodifestivalen. That was Lisa Miskovsky on this picture, Avalon Dots and Carolina Wallin Perez. And we doubled the amount of bookings. This year, until 2015, we also joined forces with legendary Swedish artist Thomas Ledin at Hässelby Slott Castle. And let me just look here. Anyway, we produced Stockholm Folk Festival by Hässelby Slott, and we did a lot of bookings these years, and the whole summertime in MTA was used to do this festival, run a festival school, producing Nationaldagen in Hässelby Slott, also developed the concept and the music production at the castle at the same time, together with Stockholm Meeting Selection and Esbjörn Mårtensson, as well as with Thomas Ledin. And 2015, we gained and was awarded with Musikörat at this conference, Live at Heart 2015, because we managed to make equal bookings at the festival. And it was a big success for us because we also hit a record with the sales of the tickets. And we got a lot of things that was very positive for us that was happening in Hässelby as well in Stockholm and the rest of Sweden. So 2009 until today, we have been working with the internationalization and expansion of the market. And that was made possible through that we participated in these conferences and fairs. We did WOMEX in Europe, Finland, Hungary, Greece, Spain, and Denmark. And we have been showcasing 5 bands during these years at this festival. In Folk Alliance in the USA, we have been hosting the SweFolk Room and the National and the Nordic Alliance Room, as well as we were showcasing Rami Assam, that totally did a big breakthrough and got a new American-Canadian management thanks to this showcase. So thank you, Valden, for taking care of him nowadays. Also, folk band Kolonin broke into the North American market thanks to Folk Alliance. Other bands that also were doing showcase here was Ode, Tom Levin, Lisas, Suso and Maher Sissoko, Sara Aynak, Bjäran, Jarmund Larsen, Taraband, and a lot of other bands from Sweden. We were invited by Angus Finnan, which has also been a great help for us getting into the US and beyond markets. And at the first time we met him was at this conference, Live at Heart 2015. The other conferences of big importance for us is Folkelarm in Norway, Music and Media in Finland, Visa for Music in Morocco, Mondial Montreal in Canada, and where we also have been 3 years, getting to know a lot of very good professionals that helped us build a momentum in Canada. And I want to say a big thanks to Derek Andrews and his team for that opportunity. ECMA in Canada was also a very friendly, professional, and easygoing conference where we got a lot of connections from. And I learned a lot and got a deeper understanding for Canadian market and infrastructure. So it was easier to really start to book that market and to make successful deals, thanks to this ECMA. Yes, and we also have been in close collaborations with all the Nordic export offices to make the most of our international work. And I must take the opportunity to also thank Tom Levin for introducing us to the US market. Big thanks to the support from Export Music Sweden, Jesper Thorsson, Musikverket, Kulturrådet, and a very special thanks to Åke Lundström, you Åke, Live at Heart, and Michael Blair and Peter Åstedt, Music Help, because thanks for you guys, we could do this big work and all these deals and all this tour. Okay, so over to you, Malin Kairis.
Okay, yes, thank you, Hilda. Today, MTA represents about 70 artists and artistic projects within different genres, but always with great quality. We book around 1,500 gigs per year, the year 2020 excluded, and we book mostly to external organizers. Around 90% of the bookings take place in Sweden, 5% in the rest of the Nordic countries, and 5% in the rest of the world. We constantly receive requests from artists and bands who want to be represented by MTA, and there are incredibly many good ones. But for us to be able to successfully lift an artist and take it to the next level, it can be regarding, for example, the quantity of gigs, the type of gigs and type of venues, the level of fee, and so on. We need the artist or band to have certain things in place. So please take a moment to think of answers to these questions. Who are you? Who do you want to be? And who do you want to be perceived as? Based on this, we identify the target group and venues, current and future. Further, you must have an updated website and work actively with social media. This also includes pitching to Spotify. When it comes to live gigs, you have to make sure that your audience receive info about their existence through your website and your other channels. That you invite them to Facebook events or maybe record videos to share, and that you are willing and interested in collaborate with a promoter when it comes to social media marketing. It is good if you already have an established network and more team players invested in a project. It can be record companies, PR companies, press agents, etc. And you should be nice and easy to work with. It may sound banal, but it is extremely important that you are perceived as pleasant and simple by the promoters who you meet for you to be booked again, both to that same venue, but also to others. You are in charge of your own reputation. Also, too many demands and hassles will have an effect on the booking results. Ideally, you should have a driver's license and a known sound system, just in case. It is very important that the artist is the driving force of the project, while we, as a booking company, act as an overall sounding board, but with the focus of booking gigs. So now let's look at the promoters. MTA collaborates closely with the organizers. We want to get as close as we actually can. We want a straightforward communication with the promoter. For example, what money is available, what scenes, what target groups, what do you want to achieve with the booking? What have you already booked a lot of, and how can we complement your program? transparency. Understanding each other's situation is very important. For example, if I know approximately what budget an organizer has, I can contact even a smaller venue with a smaller wallet if I have a gap on the way home from another show for an artist. We look at the logistics so that it is sustainable for both the artists and the organizers' finances, and for the climate, if it is possible to avoid flights. And for organizers, much the same applies as for the artists. You also need to keep track of your image and values, have an updated and user-friendly website, and good communication with your audience via social media. More on this later. Yes, because along came Corona, COVID-19. On March 12, the Swedish government issued guidelines for a maximum of 500 in the audience. Some of our gigs were affected, but for MTA it was still then manageable. But on March 16, the limit was lowered to 50 and everything fell apart. Everyone went home. It was not possible to do any more work that day or the next. And after that, everything revolved around canceling gigs or finding new dates, syncing the artist and venue calendar again. For MTA, basically all of this spring's gigs and most of the summers were cancelled or postponed. Since mid-March, ticket revenues in total have decreased by about 90% in Sweden. I usually work mostly through the computer and emails, but during this pandemic, I have made more telephone calls than ever before, often just to ask, how are you coping? This has been a time to talk and to come closer, both to our artists, musicians, technicians, but also to our beloved promoters. We wanted them to survive, and they wish the same for us. If we did not have transparency and understanding before, I feel that we got it now. And then, when spring became summer, people seemed to have finished mourning and started to be creative again. Those who survive are those who are willing to develop, doers who is not sitting around waiting. Small music venues with outdoor seatings and garden cafes started to arrange concerts and happenings with a capacity of 50 people. A great example is Kulturaktiebolaget, a company based in Örebro that came up with the concept Trädgårdslive, which has become something of a movement. Private shows for 50 people in private backyards. This concept has sold over 10,000 tickets between June and August. Here it became clear just how important the simplicity was. Artists who could cut costs, change their setting, and bring their own sound system went out into Sweden's gardens. Some have been able to do between 20 and 40 gigs and have met thousands of their fans this summer this way. The artists could continue to build relationship with the audience, perhaps even more so than before, with even fewer people in the audience, with the feeling of we experience something special together. They could make time to be more active on social media, to stream and get donations maybe, and maybe build a digital fan base, and to create and sell merch. For organizers, it is also about thinking creatively. With restrictions saying no more than 50 people can meet, can you raise the ticket price? After all, you only need 50 people with the economy to buy them. Can you organize 2 gigs with 50 people on the same date? That would mean that you could sell 100 tickets. For the artist, it is often almost the same to do 2 shows times 60 minutes instead of 1 show with 2 sets. And can you work even more creatively with your marketing? Budget that was previously placed on posters will now be placed digitally. Collaborate with artists, but also sponsor posts to reach new audiences. You probably have fewer gigs now. Take that time and review the communication plan going forward. So, what can we say about the future? We still don't know what the new restrictions that are supposed to be valid from October 1st will look like, and it will take time for promoters to adapt to them. A survey by Ticketmaster that was conducted this summer shows that 86% of the respondents want to attend as many or more events than before when the pandemic is over. 51% would buy tickets to their favorite artist tomorrow if the event takes place about 6 months ahead. Now is the time for both artists and organizers to identify their core and to find the right way, depending on the outside world and timing, to package, present, and communicate it. It is not about changing everything, but we believe that the future belongs to those who are willing to be developed and to be educated. And I hope that even when the pandemic is over, we can all continue to have this understanding for each other. Everyone who is a part of the music industry's ecosystem that is so much talked about these days. Remember, we need each other for a common and maybe a more loving future. And now over to Julia Boman, who started to work at MTA last year and has on that short time become a highly valued asset in our team.
Thank you, Malin. Hi, my name is Julia Boman. I started to work at MTA 2019 and I work as a production manager and head of PR. And today I'm going to talk about this. How to update your marketing, solidify your brand, and create engaging content post-corona. And this will be useful for both artists and concert organizers. So first of all, ask yourself, does your marketing reflect your brand? This is a time to build up, tweak, and challenge your creativity. How many social platforms do you actually have online? Some of the biggest platforms today are Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So that's the ones that I'm going to talk about today. Have a look at your social platforms. I'm now going to list 4 topics that are crucial to your brand online. First up is the visual part. Is your logo type updated and representative of you? Do you have updated promo pictures and links everywhere? Is your feed managed and cohesive? And lastly, do you have a clear aesthetic which permeates your channels? Second is the social part, aka maintaining the relationship with your fans or followers. How do you present yourself on your platforms? Are you talkative and close with your fan base? Do you post enough online? And do you respond to comments and messages? Also, do you go live on Facebook and Instagram once in a while? Because it could be good to go live and either play a song from your living room or just have a chat with your audience. Maybe you can have a Q&A. Next is content. Do you have an official YouTube channel? YouTube is a place where you can upload music videos, live sessions, vlogs, live footage, etc. Because the more channels you have, the more fans you will reach. Also, what kind of content are you posting? Is it unique, engaging, cohesive, and true to your brand? Check out what posts of yours are getting the most likes, shares, and comments on your page and start from there. What other forums could fit you? Maybe you should start a podcast, get a Twitter account, or make a collaboration with another artist or promoter to reach out to a new audience. Now let's talk about concert marketing online. How to sell tickets outside classic PR. And with classic PR, I mean things like posters or ads in paper magazines. How can you optimize your ticket sales online? And how should you budget your marketing? It's important to acknowledge the collaboration between the artist and the concert organizer ahead of a gig. This is the ideal. Here we have the artist who can reach their own fans through their social platforms. We have the promoter who reaches local concert goers, people in their city who would be interested in buying a ticket. And in the middle, there are us, the booking agents. Our job here is to connect the artist and the organizer. We will share posts from both sides, provide them both with information, and work as a sort of vessel in between them, like a connector. The three of us needs to collaborate for the concert marketing to work. So I'm now going to explain in more detail what concert marketing online can look like for the artist and the organizer separately. Let's start with the artist. What can the artist do? You can make at least one informal video where you talk directly to the fans about the gig, giving them all the information they need, like where to buy tickets, as well as how excited you are to play. And this video is to be shared by the artist, the promoter, and the booking agents. Also, you can do an Instagram story takeover on the venue's Instagram. This is also a collab, and it will strengthen your relationship with the venue's followers, which may result in more tickets being sold. Make sure that your fans get the right information. You have to check with your agent to get the correct ticket link and gig time. Another great thing you can do is to tag the organizer or the venue in your social media posts. You should do this because this shows that you are invested, you know them, and it's important for your relationship with the venue. So what about the promoter? What can the promoter do? Create and share the ticket link in time. This is a big one for us, and the ticket link needs to go live in time so that you have a chance of selling tickets. Decide a date and inform the agent in time, and the tickets will sell faster. Online marketing budget. Since we're not doing any traditional PR, you'll have to make sponsored posts on Facebook and Instagram, for example. And you have to make sure that you pick the right audience that the sponsored post will reach. Stuff like people who live in the town where the gig is being held and people who's already a fan of the artist. You can also spend the online marketing budgets on an outside PR firm that can contact online magazines to promote the gig. Ticket competition or a giveaway. This is also a good way to create buzz and make the audience invested and gain a lot of shares on Facebook. Facebook Live Q&A on the artist, with the artist on your Facebook page. This is similar to an Instagram takeover, and it follows the same format. Artist takes over your account for a limited time. Fans will react and find your page. Fans will get invested and informed about the gig. These are just some of the topics on how to get your marketing to a new level online. That was me. Thank you so much. And over to you, Hilda.
Thank you, Julia. Yes. During this year, this strange time, we have been developing a streaming service together with a tech company. And if you're interested in that, please tune in tomorrow into our seminar here at Live at Heart, 10 a.m. And it will be held by me and Marie Alexander. And we will broadcast that session from Sonica Studio in Södermalm in Stockholm. We used our studio Sonica to broadcast and do live streaming during the worst Corona crisis. I did 34 programs as a host, and see this incredible list of bands that we streamed. These bands were not on our roster. Some of them were from MTA, but most of them were from other companies or reached out and stayed connected with us during this time. And about streaming, I tried a lot of things. Not everything, but it feels like everything. I tried donations, pay-per-view. We streamed on Facebook and Instagram. We also tried to stream and do a pay-per-view case with Ticketco, Amazon, and also with InPlayer live stream. I realized there aren't any ready, easy solutions or platforms for this. Twitch is made for gamers. Facebook is good for promoting events, but just doesn't work 100% for a live stream concert. we had a really big problem with copyright, that question, and fans that wants to donate money but does not have a PayPal, nor a Swish, or feel safe to use their own credit card. And another challenge is the marketing and the production. To work with streams as well as the cost for productions, cameras and software and a suitable platform is a lot of things to think about. And to find a way to cope with the situation and the fact that this pandemic is a big catastrophe in society and that people are afraid, also afraid of coming to do their gig in our studio. You and your feelings are not in harmony, of course. Your business is threatened by the situation, but still people expect the show to be good and in good quality to stay and enjoy it. So if you say that you are doing this, people are expecting that you can and will. This is, of course, a big pressure also. So a lot of work is on preparing and trying to be in other people's situation. What are they expecting from this, and can I surprise them by doing something better? Will the audience then donate more money? And good work in Sweden has been done by KB, Kulturbolaget in Malmö, with bands like Wilmer X and Backyard Babies, as well as by Mustache, with a big fan base and funny ideas. It's all about thinking outside the box. Maybe buying beer to the bands. And you imagine that you are at the venue with friends and you stand in the bar and just enjoy the music while being in the sofa at home. And of course, there is also a great sensitivity to work with a team of people when this is going on at the same time. It is impossible to have a plan B for crew as well for a content. Many cancellations were made by many producers and artists in the last minute. All the streaming activity at MTA Production right now is, of course, to be continued, and we only just started. I want to say a big thanks to Sonica Studio, Stream Team Sweden, Bring It Home, 2020, Lovina, Tom and Kristoffer and Gunnar, Chris and Daniel Josefsson, and Kattis Törnberg, Mats Rydström for doing this together with me. And also thanks ABF and Gaffa and Orkesterjournalen that did a big, good marketing job together with us. And the other things that we did during these times was that we did more things. We started a mentoring program where we welcome artists, bands, and promoters to make sessions with us. Here is some feedback from 2 clients that we have helped to sharpen their tools. First, Anders Lundin took a decision to learn more and to engage himself into understanding more on how social media can and be helpful for him to get more streaming on Spotify. Sunstroke Ray was very self-driven, but had a big need to get feedback from us and reflect herself, as well as having a premiere on a video in a music blog. And the nice things with mentoring is that you can also engage other experts from the music business and give people a chance to get assignments together with us. So yes, it was possible to engage more professionals from the music business ecosystem. And that is what is needed in these times when you have to be helpful and see the opportunities and help each other. So that was all from us at MTA. We would like you to write comments in the chat field or write questions to us. And if you have things to ask, you can please contact Malin at MTA Production. And here is the email address, malin@mtaprod.se. So please feel free to contact us regarding questions about MTA mentoring or streaming or bookings or anything. And thank you so much, Live at Heart, for having this conference and adapting so well to these new times. And we hope to see you soon in real life. Okay, bye from us. And thank you, Julia and Malin. And thanks from Hilda also here at the MTA office. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, MTA Productions, for being a part of Live at Heart. And I hope to see you live here next year, because it couldn't stay this way. I know that it's been a very difficult time, and I read some figures that 1/3 or half of all the professional musicians would have to do something else. I don't know if this is something you can see. Is it that bad?
Some of our artists and especially the musicians that work with the artists also work with as music teachers and similar professions. So, and they have began to do this a lot more now. I can say that. Yeah.
Well, let's hope that we need the musicians, we need the music. Thank you, MTA Productions, and Malin, Julia, and Hilda, and see you next year, and see you around all year.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye to all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, hi everybody. Welcome to this Bootstrap talk. Bijoy from Austin and Lisa was in Stockholm. You should probably introduce yourselves. And I leave you for this conversation at Live at Heart 2020. Yeah. Let's start this.
Thank you, Ake, because it's sad that we can't be in person. This is my first year in 9 or 10 years, something like that, maybe 10 years, not being able to come to Sweden in September. So this is the next best thing, but hopefully we'll be able to resume in 2021.
Yeah, and I'm so happy to be part of Live at Heart, and this gonna be so interesting to talk with you, Bijoy, and I love the things you're doing for teaching all of us bootstrapping. So happy to be here.
Well, Lisa, as I think when you and I first met, I called you the queen of bootstrapping. So anything I know is learned from the master bootstrappers. So you know, that's what it's such a great honor and pleasure for me to talk to you, because and you know, anytime I get a chance to talk to someone who has had such a deep journey and immersion into what I try to study and try to articulate for people, there's just so many things I learned. I mean, even when you and I were talking before our conversation now, there were so many things that were coming into my, you know, for me, that I was like, this is amazing, you know. So I really appreciate learning from you and you know, sharing your story. And I think just the coolest thing to me is that how many, you know, I feel like bootstrap companies are hiding in plain sight, you know, like there are these amazing companies that actually do all this work, and yet people want to talk about the funding companies like your Spotify's and whatever else, which are great. There's nothing wrong with those companies, and they're great and they do their thing. But to me, the real engine is these bootstrap companies that slowly and steadily build, you know. Baby Bjorn, we're talking about 80-year company, and is now in this incredible stage of its journey. And those long-term companies to me are so much more interesting for me, has always been since I was I was a kid at Stanford. And again, same thing there, where all these tech companies and, you know, Google and all of that. And I was more interested always in the history of Stanford, I mean, and the history of Silicon Valley, which was all about bootstrapping. You know, so for me, that bootstrap journey started in the 90s. And then when I came to Austin, I joined a bootstrap company, and then I started my own. And then I started this community of Bootstrap Austin, because there just wasn't enough conversation about bootstrapping. And really, there was not enough understanding. People would say, oh, you're bootstrapping, so you didn't get funding. And that was the only reference point.
Yeah, I know. No, I think that's great. I mean, really, there are a lot of people who don't even know what bootstrapping is. And I think what you're doing is really super important.
Well, thank you. You know, and it's like, I think what's really cool as we kick off this Bootstrap Sweden initiative, which we started it in January when I actually came out. I mean, we've been doing it informally, but we're really with Live at Heart and Bootstrap Austin, we're working together to really inspire and to educate and to build community for bootstrapping in Sweden. And I think what a perfect way to start that whole conversation with the story of, you know, Baby Bjorn. You know, I always take a different name from the different places I've grown up. So like my Chinese name is Bija, which is means philosopher. It was given to me by my Chinese teacher. Wow. And my Swedish name is Bjorn.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. Well, you know, Bijoy. I mean, it's sort of the easiest, the closest.
Yeah, you know, our brand name is Baby Bjorn, in Swedish, Baby Björn, but it sounds
Björn, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds kind of, in the US, it's a Baby Bjorn, so it's like
yeah, Bjorn, yes. I have a German friend who lives in Austin, and he's Bjorn. He's also a bootstrap entrepreneur, but Björn is the right Swedish pronunciation, right?
Yeah.
What does it mean, Björn? What is the meaning? I think I looked it up.
Bear. You know the animal bear. not beer.
Oh, the bear. Yes, that's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
So I always have a hard
So-
time pronouncing that. So before I always said beer, like sounds like it's beer.
Baby beer.
Yeah, baby bear, baby bear, like teddy bear.
Baby bear.
Teddy. So it's the logo from the beginning was a teddy bear.
Wow. Wow. And a little bit of beer is good for the baby, right? I mean.
Who knows?
So what's interesting is your involvement. I mean, what's fascinating to me is that your involvement in the company started before you even knew you were involved in the company.
Oh, you mean with the bib? Yeah, the Baby Björn bib. It was my father invented the plastic bib, where before it was always tissue, you know. And he was like, I was 1 year old. It was 1968, and he figured, like, when I was eating the food, he made this nice food, and it dropped on the floor. He's like, oh, you should have like a bowl that, you know, when the food falls down, and actually you can re-eat it, so it's good for the environment. And
Saves the parent from also cleaning up the mess, right?
yeah, no, so it's such a great product. So, and that's actually been a bit like that all, when my siblings were born, my parents invented, and their team invented different products, and also like cousins. And so it's really been a family company since start. It started in 1961, and it's returned 60 years next year.
60, that's right. That's right. That's incredible. So some celebrations will be in order next year.
Yeah, I have a lot of celebrations.
That's incredible. So you're the inspiration for one of the products for your dad. I mean, literally Björn.
Yeah.
But then you really got involved in the company at a very interesting stage. It was, you said in the 90s, about 30 years after the company had been going. And then you got involved now as an actual member of the team.
Yeah, so 94, right after right after university, my studies, then my dad said, well, Lisa, you like to communicate or write and stuff. Can't you help me with, you know, actually communicating to the parents? Because he felt like, you know, he had great products. He had like 10 products selling in 10 countries. So we went from 2.2 million US dollar in turnover to like 22 million US dollar in turnover over this year. So that was a great time that I really enjoyed working very close with my dad. And he was like, okay, you need to go to different countries, visit the different editorial offices. And that's when I started to read the magazines, and it was a lot about parental leave. And we were actually feeling that was something important to tell parents in other countries, that you know, in Sweden the dad actually stays home taking care of the kids, and it was very new. This was around 95, and when I was in France, they were like, no way that anybody's gonna carry their baby in a baby carrier. And same in like Japan, and even in the States, it was very new. But we kept on, you know, doing.
Because what did they think? They would just carry the baby like this? They didn't want to carry the baby.
It was the mother. The mother, you know, went around. The father never showed himself with the baby like that. I mean, of course, I mean, they could have a stroller or they were out, but it was very uncommon that actually the dad was out carrying the baby.
Wow. So the social mores, I mean, meant that men had to, this is a woman's job and the woman has to do it. The man doesn't do it. He's not going to be seen pushing a stroller around. But this has been the case in Sweden since how long? I mean, how long have this kind of equal, you know, sharing of parental duties, has that been since the early 1900s or I mean, when?
It started in the 60s, 70s. So my dad, when he got my mother's first child, my brother, in 1963, then, you know, she was home, but he was helping a lot with the kids and with us, and you know, changing diapers and stuff like that. So I mean, he was probably quite early in doing stuff like that, but a lot of parents then did this. A lot of parents started to share the duties already in the 70s.
I mean, and that's incredible. I mean, you know, it's funny because baby Bjorn, but it's Bjorn's baby. I mean, there's this idea, I mean, right? Like it's like you could go the other way and actually understand it to be something else entirely. But when you started to go to these other countries, you started to realize you weren't just bringing a product, but you were bringing a mindset and a societal shift, which anticipated, I mean, what was going to happen in all these other countries. But you guys were actually bringing that as well, right? You were bringing this notion.
Yes, a super important part of Baby Björn's history is actually when my mother came into the company in the 80s, and especially in the 90s, she worked very much with like new designs. And in the beginning of 90s, she came with a navy blue baby carrier, which got really popular, and men felt, you know, also more comfortable with carrying when the baby carriers weren't pink, or, you know.
Yes, right.
Like, so, and then in 95, she made a black baby carrier. We were actually talking about, you know, making a black baby carrier, and I was like, oh, for babies, and well, let's make it just for media, you know, like a PR thing. And she made it, and it looked so nice. And I brought it to a journalist in London, and she was like, oh, it was like a big design magazine. And she was like, oh, I'm not so interested in baby stuff, but okay, you can come to my office. It was Elle magazine. And then,
oh, wow.
Yeah, and then I brought the black baby carrier, and she actually took the picture that we gave her. That was like a super modern woman walking in a shopping mall, you know, with black clothes, the black baby carrier, and the baby had some really nice red clothes. And then she put that into Elle magazine, and she wrote, this baby carrier is so nice, it's even worth having a baby.
Is your new fashion statement, it's going to fit into your lifestyle of fashion and all the black that you're wearing. That's amazing. I mean, so it's like you're also dealing with a feminist movement, which has an interesting relationship with the babies and classical roles for women, that, you know, how do I be a liberated woman and do my career, doing these things, but also is there room for me to have a kid? And so now you're actually turning that around. And
yeah, and that was nice for my mother. I mean, we are 4 siblings, so she had 4 kids, and she really loves working. She's a designer. She wanted to, you know, come back to work, and I mean, so that's been such a great life for her to actually being part of the success of the Baby Björn baby carrier. And she was a pioneer with the, you know, she was the first one actually making baby carriers nice for the fathers. So I think that's been, I mean, in some way affecting a lot of fathers in the world. I mean, nowadays it's the black is the biggest color. It's no big thing, but it was actually a big thing in the 90s.
I mean, both of them have done this really cool reversal, right? I mean, she helped men with their journey, and he's helping women with, I mean, so it's like this whole notion of, I mean, parallel to the journey of the company has been this meaning journey of what is the role of parenting? How should we combine work and family? How do we sequence that? So, you know, initially, I know she wasn't involved in the business because your dad started it with his sister-in-law, right? That was the initial.
Yes,
but then she joined later on after having you kids. Yeah. And then your mom became integral to the business at that point, right? So
Yeah.
they were able to sequence things in a beautiful way that, I mean, not that they planned that, but it just ended up in a really cool way that everybody could do what they needed to do as well in the family,
Yeah.
while you're actually helping other families with this process of having kids and all that.
Yeah, and talking about stages, I really like how with your, to get back to the bootstrapping, how you put, like you explain it in big different stages. I don't know if you have that picture you showed me. I think it's super, it's like a great map to see how you can build a company organically. And it's, really,
Yeah, let me see if I can pull that up for you here.
yeah, and it's really a great way to teach other entrepreneurs how you can actually go for it without funding from outside.
Yeah, you know, I mean, that's been the interesting part, is to actually break this down into these stages. Can you see the map here? And
Yeah,
it says bootstrap method. Okay, great. Yeah, this let me give you, that's perfect, because let me give a brief overview of this, because it might help people, and then we can even look at the Baby Bjorn case study in terms of this map. I always find it a great thing when the bootstrap entrepreneur says, hey, this map actually, is accurate to my journey, right? That's a sign of a good map. So the way this map, just in terms of organizing it, is on the vertical lines are stages. So this first stage is the U stage. And then you got this founder line. So what's really interesting is that, you know, you've got these different elements that are wanting to come together. I mean, like we were talking about with your family life and the work life. And a company seen from this perspective is actually adding lines of music. I mean, we are at Live at Heart, so we should talk about music. And I think of this as like a fugue. You know, a fugue is like this musical form where you have these different melodies that are coming on top of each other. And so the first line of the melody, of course, has to be the founder, you know, and the founding team, really.
Yeah.
And there's a key action associated with each stage. So in this U stage, there's no venture, there's nothing happening here. There's just a person on their journey. They are discovering, you know, their own capacities, their own interests, their own capabilities and strengths and weaknesses. And this really starts from when we're born to, you know, we keep going on that journey. So childhood and maybe first or second job and things like that. That's where we are individually simply developing ourselves. And we're learning not only what we're good at, but also what we're weak in, right? What we're not good at, so that will factor in a little bit later, as we see in the journey, where you bring on other people. Then, you know, and of course, you know, when you've seen this sort of pairing with your dad as sort of the primary, I would say, founder and steward of the company, yet he has brought in, and other people have come in, including you and your mom and his sister-in-law, other people, designers, that he brought in to, as they were needed, you know, to bring the company forward, right? So this founding line becomes the employee line, becomes all the people as the company progresses, right?
Yeah.
Then this meaning line is very interesting, because the meaning line is all about the purpose, what people call purpose and mission and things like that of the company. But it's not like it starts off that you know all of this whole thing, like Baby Bjorn and the Bjorn baby and all the things. You just start with something, that a spark. You awaken to the fact that you are interested in something and you want to do something about that in that journey. And you're kind of going, yes, I want to solve this problem. I want to take this on, you know. An analogy here is kind of the hero's journey, you know, with a hero like Luke Skywalker or whatever it is, decides that they want to go and become a Jedi Knight, right? They want to decide to go take that journey. That's what's happening here, is in this awakened stage. And by the way, these stages are not strictly, you know, this is kind of the classical way, but you can start, you know, one before the other too. You know, you can awaken first and then go develop the skills later, right? So I
mean, in the Baby Bjorn situation, so that would be like discovering that the mission is to actually make the everyday life easier for parents with small children, and that's actually our, you know, business idea still today after 60 years. So that's pretty cool.
Yes.
When you find
yes. Well, and that's what's so interesting there, is that so in this meaning journey, you're reducing down, right? You're reducing down to the essence. And so as time goes on, you think you're doing X, but you're actually doing X minus, 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 minus.
Yeah.
The job is to take away all the things that the company isn't. And the more precise you get, right? I mean, the more specific you get, the more expressed the company is on its journey.
Yeah, and that actually took a while to really, to find the design language of Baby Björn's, like what's a Baby Björn product. And today it's so clear. I mean, to explain it, you can say like, if you see a potty and it's like a dinosaur and it's really unpractical for the kid and you need a battery and stuff, that's not a Baby Björn product. Baby Björn is like clean cut Swedish style. It's really nicely designed, and so I really like what you say, that you have to look into what are you not, take away everything you're not to make it really clear who you are.
Yes, and exactly. And again, just like the founder and the team line, that line will continue. And that what you're not keeps emerging over and as this line emerges. So it's not like you start, again, there's so many myths of entrepreneurship, and that's one of them. It's like, oh, I have this great mission to serve this thing and take care. You didn't really know that. You start with something that you're sparked by, and you're passionate about. And then over time, this thing emerges. And that's what's so interesting about what I think, so much that's wrong about the way we talk about entrepreneurship is we want to tell the story like the entrepreneur knew everything the whole time from the beginning. And
that's true. I mean, when I started, my parents had been going for 33 years, and it was 94 when I read the magazines and I found out that a lot of journalists and of course their readers were interested in parental leave in England, for example. So then we made the connection between, how to satisfy the parents, how the father could actually, be proud to walk with his baby in the city with the, navy blue or black baby carrier. So you're so right. That's actually 33 years after Baby Björn started.
Exactly, and that's the beauty of it. It's you're in this never-ending dialogue with this being called Baby Björn, the company, which is in a dialogue with the society, its customers, with the founding team, with the employees. It's this ongoing conversation, and it's a never-ending conversation. That's the other thing that we think. Oh, you arrive somewhere, it's done, and you check that mark. No, it's ongoing. Like you keep having these conversations, and that's why this meaning journey, even just like the founder and team journey, will keep going and evolving over time.
Yeah, you always have to have the connection with the customers, that you're really studying what are they doing, you're following them, you're learning. And I mean, that's what my dad asked me to actually go out and film in the parents' house. So me and a friend, Varda, we were there for hours, and we were like, didn't even really ask questions or anything. We were just, following the parents. And then we showed these films to the product development company and to my dad. And they were, oh my God, do the parents do like this when they take off the baby carrier? It's like have a problem to open it or close it, and the baby wakes up and everything. So that's, for example, when Baby Björn invented the 2-part baby carrier that you actually could take off the entire front. So when the baby fell asleep, you could actually, put down your baby, loosen up the entire front, and the baby could continue to sleep on that warm and nice textile.
Right. So I just wanted to come back to us here in this conversation, but of course now it's doing this. But hold on a second. Are we back here? Yeah. So sorry. So you were saying that because So one of the things that the company is always doing, and the bootstrapper is always doing, is they're always close to the customer, right? So the beauty of back to the initial story, which we'll get to here, is that your dad was actually, how did he get involved in the actual Bjorn? Because he was babysitting, right?
Yeah, he was babysitting his brother and sister-in-law's kids. They had 5 kids, and he really liked to hang out with them, and they were really small and quite close. The smallest one, Nils, he was only a baby when my dad brought home a baby bouncer from the States when he had been to a trip. And he asked his sister-in-law, like, let's put Nils in this baby bouncer. And she was like, no, it looks dangerous. But then he put Nils in there anyway, and she was excited. She's like, oh my God, he's so happy. And he was bouncing. And then they started, my father and my aunt, Elsa Jakobsson, they started Baby Björn together. And so that's actually great. She was a mother of 5, and then my father got 4 children. So, you know, in the first years, they had actually 9 children in the families.
Wow. I'm just showing this slide here where I'm jumping ahead a little bit because we didn't finish the map, but I just think this is so interesting here where you've done this beautiful job of showing the essential steps of the journey and the bootstrap map. So maybe we can, you know, just show that way. So here is Bjorn and your aunt, and this is him essentially helping her on her parenting journey, right?
Yeah, so the first picture is my dad, and that's from the beginning of the 60s. And then it's the picture of meaning. It's my dad and my mother and my 2 older siblings, my older brother and older sister. And already at that time, when you are talking about meaning, we actually then came up with a make everyday life easier for parents and small children. So that's been like in the company and in the family since the start. Yeah.
And does that continue to be the mantra for the company today?
Yeah, it is. And then if we get into the next stage products, it's actually funny how first product was a baby bouncer, and my dad, I mean, talking about bootstrapping, he actually went to one of the biggest stores in Stockholm called NK, and he asked them to sell the product, and they were like very skeptical. So he went to a journalist who actually wrote about the baby bouncer in the Daily Journal. It was in one of the daily newspapers. And then he went back to the store and said, like, look, it says in the magazine that you're selling the product, so you need to buy one. And so the purchaser bought one Baby Björn baby bouncer.
Wow.
And then my grandma went there to buy it. So when my dad came back, he's like, oh, so asked the purchaser, how's it going? And she went out in the store and she looked and she's like, oh, it's sold. So I'll take another 2, or actually, no, another 3. So she bought another 3, and then my grandma had to buy 2 of them, but that it was actually somebody else buying the 3rd one. And that's how it started and got rolling. And then my grandma didn't need to buy anymore.
So it was the inside customer that you needed at the first to get the outside customer too. So this is very interesting because I'm going to go back to this map here, because what's amazing here is, right, we went to the awaken stage, and then we talked about this ideation stage where the key action is to make something, you know, create this demo, right? Create using whatever resources you have available, just create something that you think will be not the perfect ideal thing, but just whatever you think is going to be enough to get the product out, right? Yes. And then the key action is the sell action, which is what you're talking about there with the the department store and the inside customer being your grandmother, you've got to convince somebody to buy this item, right? That's the key piece. That is the action that is in this. The VOD means Valley of Death, right? So in the Valley of Death stage, which every bootstrap company goes through, you have to go, the company is going to be, the money is not coming from investors, it's coming from a little bit of capital from yourself and your friends and family, but you're going to make that money come from the customer, right? And in forcing yourself to take that demo and offer it to the customer is when this magic starts happening around you actually making progress. And what's fascinating here too is that you actually, in this case, you had two customers, right? Because you had the department store purchasing manager, and then you had the actual parent who had to decide to buy the product, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think that's it's really important for your self-confidence as entrepreneur that get this proof of concept, that you're actually selling your products in different channels, and you can see for yourself, okay, I know this product can sell. And then it's quite a long step before you're into the organizational stage usually. I mean, you
Yes.
don't organize yourself, you run around, you sell wherever you can, and sometimes you're in the valley of death, you don't have enough money, and it's really hard, and some companies give up. But if you just can get to that stage of really get to know your customers, what are you able to sell, what are they willing to actually pay money for, and then finally go into the organization stage.
And this would be, I mean, so and that's exactly right, which is that these stages, each of these is could be yours, right? I mean, that you're in the valley of death, or you come out, you think you're in the growth stage, you found something that works, and then you're taken back because of, let's say, external events or life events or something like that, and you get back to valley of death, and you're again innovating back in that valley of death stage, right? You had that too in the company, in terms of you said something about the real estate piece. At some point, your dad was frustrated by the company not growing.
Yeah, in the 90s, my father felt like he's been working so hard for so long, and it went so slowly, and he really wanted to make more money to put it into product development, because he wanted more products quicker. And he didn't have the patience, so he took the money he had and went into the real estate business. And then the crash came, in the 90s. So he was about to lose everything. So that was really valley of death. We were about to lose, our house, the company, everything. It was really to go bad. And so then was like a what you would call 2.0, like started again. And then we had that great success in the 90s that we grew. I mean, some of the years we doubled our turnover, and the profit went better too. And like today we have a turnover of 90 million US dollar.
US.
And growing. So it's really great example on how to grow slowly, the 35 first years, and then how you just have a really great ride. But you have to have that patience and the passion and feel like you're a great team, and like everybody know their places, and you help one another and encourage one another. It's a bit like climbing a mountain. So you have to be like great people, happy to see other people grow, and encouraging each other, because it's such a hard work. So I mean, you need to be nice to one another.
You really do need to care about being on this journey, and that's the thing, is that again, in this modern idea of this current idea of entrepreneurship, it's like, oh, I succeeded, and that magic, like a magic trick, right? And you're missing all of these sections of going here, going backwards, re-understanding things that take time. And it's interesting because the other another great Scandinavian company is Lego, and Lego had the same kind of journey where Ole like started the company, and he was a carpenter, but he wanted to get out of that business and build toys for kids. So the first 20, 30 years of Lego's journey was building little toys for kids, wooden toys, and it was only until for them in the 60s that they stumbled onto, and again, by the way, because of a shortage of wood, and there was another massive event that happened in the company's journey, and they said, we can't just make wood companies, we have to, there was a factory fire actually.
Oh yeah.
And so they said, what other materials can we explore? And they bought this plastic molding machine, injection machine. And that then caused them to start experimenting. And then it was, funnily enough, like in your case, the founder's son was on a boat going to England. And he met a department store manager, and that person said, we have these building blocks, but they don't all fit. They're all different sizes. They don't fit with each other. We don't have a standard system. So they went back with that idea and came back and said, maybe we can build these blocks. But that wasn't even it. It was ultimately when they realized that if you stack the blocks, they don't actually sit correctly on top of each other. They don't hold. So the key insight was on the bottom side of the block to put those columns in, so that when you click the piece together, it sticks, right? And that's now 30 years after Lego 1.0.
Yeah. Right.
That then leads to the Lego that we know today, right? But if people don't study the history, or they don't realize that it takes sometimes this long to really get to that journey, then you'll give up at so many earlier stages, right? And if you've got this idea that I'm just here to make money and sell my company and that kind of thing, you have this short-term thinking, you're not going to go on this journey. I mean, imagine if your dad had quit when he was going through those crises, and the company was at, whatever, a few $1 million in revenue. And today it's $100 million. I mean, this entire journey would never have happened if he didn't keep going.
Yeah. No, so that is super important. And I really want to encourage, people to build a team, find the people you like to work with, nice people, good people. That, I mean, it's like climbing a mountain together, and you really need to know that you're, taking care of one another.
Yeah, and this team dynamic, I mean, in a sense, you got lucky. Your dad got lucky because he was working with people, the people that he was already committed to being on the journey with, right? You mean, it's your family. But let's say in another case where you are going on this by yourself, it seems like there's so much you have to really understand about what those other team members, especially a co-founder, what they bring into the conversation, both in terms of skills, complementary skills that are different, that you need different skills, not the same skills, but also maybe a vision about this journey. Like, are you going to be bootstrapping? Are you going to be trying to fund it and go that way? I mean, there's all of these questions that become really important to have upfront in that question stage.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I'm invested in other companies also, and worked as business angel. And there comes to a stage where, if you're a startup person, you actually should leave the business to somebody else to take it into the next stage. It's another mindset. So I started the communications department at Babybjörn in '94. And I employed Annika Sander Lömark, who's one of my best friends now. And we worked together really closely, and then we employed more people, great people. But then after 10 years, I realized that I could actually move on. She's better than I, she's fantastic.
Yeah.
She could actually, take this by herself into the next stage. And today, my siblings and I, we are the owners, and our parents have retired from Babybjörn. They're doing their own things now. And my siblings and I we're on the board, and we have employed Stina Westerstad, a great woman that is now the CEO. And she just rocks. It's like she knows exactly how to do it, to build the organization, encourage everybody to be part of the journey. And that's stuff that startup people are not always the best people to make the company grow. I mean, usually it's different kinds of personalities.
Yes, and that's why, in that U stage, the key theme is know thyself.
Yes.
Right? Know thyself. In other words, understand and don't have a false impression of yourself. And it is very true that, for example, what I've seen with over the last 15, 20 years of hundreds and thousands of founders is that many of the founders are very, very good in that valley of death stage and maybe the ideation stage, but really the wrong person in the growth stage when you're trying to build this organization, because they want to keep disrupting the organization, right? They want to keep bringing it back in essence to their strength. And so they want to keep saying, no, let's reinvent. Okay, that makes sense. But we still have to keep the main organization going on its journey while you do the innovation. So you take someone like Steve Jobs, who was a classic innovator type entrepreneur, and he couldn't, by the way, one of his products was named Lisa.
Oh yeah, his daughter name was Lisa.
That's right. And he named the Lisa, which was the precursor to the Mac, and it actually failed as a product.
Yeah.
But it was the idea of graphical interface that he realized he had gone to Xerox PARC and seen this graphical user interface, and he thought, this is the future. And so he named that first product Lisa, and then when that didn't work, he then went back and did the Mac. But the way he did the Mac was he created a whole separate organization that was literally in another building with a pirate flag on top of it. And that's how he developed the Mac with a separate team. So in that re-bootstrap stage, right, you have the growth stage where you take everything you've learned and this business model that has now finally emerged, and you build a scalable enterprise that works with it. But then you continually need to go back and re-bootstrap. That has to happen separate to and connected, but separate from the main organization, No,
and I think sales, it's probably very seldom that the strength of building sales organization, that would be the same people as the inventor starting the company and actually inventing the first products. To build a sales organization, you really need to be super focused and structured, and it's another kind of personalities. I think that's also good to know. If you're a startup person, it's okay to let other people take over and be proud of yourself, what you've done, and then other people can make the company grow.
I feel like unfortunately we have to wrap up our conversation here because we're on the time limits of the Live at Heart streaming gods.
Okay.
so Ake and Anders are like, come on, we've got to get this wrapped up. So I do think that we should have a subsequent conversation around this, because I feel like we're just getting into some really, really interesting things. But I wanted to, I think what's really great is for us to have this overall framework of conversation, and then all of that, and begin to, I'd say, officially kick off the launch of Bootstrap Sweden with this conversation. So I think we'll be having a lot more conversations that we'll share with people as we go along. So I just wanted to finish with, just thank you so much for sharing the insights and the wisdom. And I wanted to remind the Live at Heart folks that we are kicking off Bootstrap Sweden, that they can join the Facebook group, facebook.com/Bootstrap Sweden. And then they can continue the conversation there. After the festival, we're about to announce some things around how people can really learn the Bootstrap model and start communities in their own areas, so that we can start community building around entrepreneurs who are bootstrapping and helping each other, because that's another thing you pointed out, is helping each other is a really key part of that. So any last words that you want to share?
No, thank you so much. I'm so glad to have been a part of this, getting to know you, and that you really put words on what we have been doing in Baby Björn without knowing that it was called bootstrapping. So I'm very proud of the journey, and I would love to share more about it with anyone who wants to ask.
Perfect. Well, we'll have a lot to celebrate in 2021 when the company celebrates its 60th birthday, right?
60th birthday. Yeah.
We're gonna celebrate and do some really fun stuff, I hope, with that. So
Yeah, we will. And I hope to come to the States that COVID-19 is over, kind of, and hopefully we'll meet in real life in a year.
yes, it's gonna be awesome.
Thank you, Bijoy.
Thank you, Lisa. I really appreciate the conversation. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, bye.
Okay, bye.